We'll clip this later for anyone that wants to see. We have a clips channel. Let's just jump right into it, like from the business side. Not the exact numbers, but at least the structure of the sponsored fighter. What percentage is going to the gym? What's going in your pocket? Realistically, in the first year, where are you fighting and what are you actually making? What does it cost to survive here? Like, what are those bare numbers like on a very like budgetary estimation level? So if anyone's listening, they can be like, okay, I have a clear idea. Like this would be the conversation probably Woody gave you.
Yeah. So depending on the, like the logistics of things and what you're getting from the actual gym, like, because we have accommodation available, we have management, we have all that type of thing. So there's like different tiers, obviously, that go through the situation. Like if you're purely there just for training and you have your own accommodation and you have all that other stuff sorted, you could be like looking at 20% of your fight purse every time you fight. And if you're not in a sanctioned organization already and you're fighting at like Bangla and things like that, you're only making 6,000 baht, 5,000 baht. So
and then the rest goes to the gym, or that.
No. So of that 5,000 baht, the gym will take 20%, whatever it is, 30%, and that varies from gym to gym. I've heard of a lot of gyms taking 70% of the purse and leaving the people with 30%. So like, there is no set number. There's no like blueprint on how it's supposed to be done. It's kind of whatever the agreement is with you and that person at the time. But like the structure will usually implement like every asset you take from the gym is probably like another 10%. So if you want to stay at the gym, accommodation wise, it's another 10% of your purse. If you want to use like, facilities or, food or something like that, it's another 10%. So people can be like, oh, this is great. I'm only losing 50% of my purse. But if you're only making 10,000 baht, you've got 5,000 baht after being in a war for 3 rounds or something like that. And then they start, that's when everything starts adding up. Because then if you get injured, you're out for another couple of weeks. You can't fight again. Your residual income's not coming in as quick as you thought.
How do the gyms look at the sponsored fighters? Are they a customer or an investment?
It's probably a 50-50. Obviously, an investment in the stage where we want to get the fighter to
a high level
promotion. High level, exactly right. To gain promotion for themselves and for the gym. My goal when I look at sponsoring someone is like, I've never sponsored someone straight off the bat. We're only a new gym, but I always make them fight first. So I'm like, you pay for your training, you fight first, and then I can decide. Because I feel like I'm pretty good to judge a character on a fighter. Like how they represent themselves in the ring. What happens if they get into a situation where they're being hurt or being cut, whether they give up, are they strong enough to continue? And a big thing that I look at, which I probably, can get out there now, is the way they handle their celebration if they win or lose. So Muay Thai is very, very different in the aspect of wins and losses don't mean a whole lot. Obviously, winning is the paramount, thing that you're looking for. But if you handle a loss better than you handle a win, I would like to take that person on better than if I see someone who's knocked somebody out and they're running around the ring like a fucking headless chook, jumping on the ropes and carrying on like a dickhead. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? You don't really have that humbleness about you, because like the culture of Muay Thai and things like that, they don't really, it doesn't really have that cockiness and arrogance about it.
And then if that guy gets to a high level, he's going to be a nightmare to negotiate with later.
Exactly right. So that's what I mean. Like, it's an investment in the future when you see something like that, because it's all well and good to celebrate. And, if you've put in hard yards and done the win, but like you see some of these people, man, at Bangla Stadium, they're fighting 85-year-old dudes who are probably, out the front cutting mangoes before they got in there. And these guys are running around, jumping on the fucking ring, like doing backflips and shit. And you're just like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm a hockey player, so I guess I would compare it to, let's say, I played a little higher level hockey as a kid, but then eventually we end up in men's league. It'd be like scoring a goal in men's league and skating around cheering. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Who gives a shit?
That's what I mean. Like I said, there's a time and a place for, congratulating yourself, but like it's it's very few and far between, like when you get the right people. So sponsorships can be a great thing, and they can also be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so people should be aware, at least they understand the structure, and you're not just coming over here and kind of freeloading off them as well.
Yeah, exactly right.
And what are gym owners' thoughts on gym hoppers?
I'm a bit different in that aspect, because I'd rather the person leave if they have some sort of negative connotation, because what happens is they'll end up sitting around the gym, moping around, or, you know, like getting in someone else's ear and then creating more of a virus than anything. So like I understand people getting upset for it, because it can be annoying when you invest a lot of time into someone and then, you know what I mean, like they lose a fight or they lose 2 fights in a row. So they're like, oh, fuck this, it must be the gym, you know, so then they move on to somewhere else. But in the grand scheme of things, like they're not the person you really want in your gym. So it's probably better off to, you know, cut the head off the snake and fucking let it go.
Yeah, it's a good like filtering process as well.
Yeah, exactly right. But it's just, it can be difficult when you're invested in that person and then they just think, oh, well, I lost because of the gym or not. You know. But like I said, again, that speaks about the character of the person that you're working with. So if they don't have the faith in it, you might as well fuck them off.
Now that connection, you've come over to Thailand. Woody's kind of give you a little bit of a roadmap. What was your kind of career plan there? Was it just to, not to say that to be the punching bag, or like what did you see after that? Like what was coming?
Well, so my theory was, if I'm working with these guys, then I'm going to get better. So like my problem with my fight career was my ambition always exceeded my ability. And I used to lie about my fights a lot so I could get better fights. I'm like, there's not many people in the world that do that, you know what I mean? People are always saying they had less fights or they're trying to get an easier fight. And like I had situations with people like, oh, the world champion or from 2015 needs a fight. I'm like, yeah, sweet, bro. I'll jump in there, I'll have a go at it. And they're like, how many fights you had? I'm like, how many fights do I need? They'll be saying, 15. I say, yeah, that's exactly how many fights I've had. And I'd really only had 4 or 5. But I never put myself in a situation where I didn't think I was going to win, which is like the biggest thing, you know. Like I had offers to fight some people, and I was like, nah, bro, I'm not fucking doing that. Like, but in that time period, it was more. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to make a career out of this. I'd only had probably 5 fights, and I think it's 5-0. So I was like mixing up with these really high level dudes and understanding I'm nowhere near as good as I thought I was, for one. And just
now, is this pure Muay Thai or MMA?
Just Muay Thai.
Okay.
But I was sparring with these dudes as like, you know, there's one of their stand-up partners. And it was it was just a realization for me, like, and seeing like these are like, especially the Polynesian and the Pacific Island guys, like we're always having fun, but I never really realized the amount of work that these guys do put in, because we'll be out there laughing, listening to, you know, like fucking Olivia Newton-John while we're sparring and things like that. And people walk up like, what the fuck is going on here? These giants are punching the shit out of each other, laughing. And so like, you know, that aspect was really, really cool to understand that they're still the same type of people. But then when I saw the amount of work that they actually do, I was like, fuck, I'm so far behind the 8 ball here. So it was really good. It was invigorating. It like, you know, lit a fire in me. And then I just, kind of progressed from there.
Now, where did that lead to, and to the point where it took you right up to Southside? And I guess we can touch upon like when we were first introduced at Muay Thai and Mushrooms, and you were working at Powerhouse, and kind of connect that story along the road.
So through Tiger, I was there all the way up until the pandemic. So during that time, there was not many of us left at the gym. I'd say maybe 20 people in total. Trying to remember, I think it was Khalil was still there. Sorry, so Khalil was like the main person there that everyone was helping out at the time. Like Woody was doing his S&C, and Will was still training, and he had a fight coming up. I can't remember what it was. So I can't remember when that was. 2020.
2020.
So I was working at Powerhouse and sponsored by Tiger at the same time. Like again, I was very, 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 very lucky with that, because I was like one of the only people that was able to do something like that, because a lot of the other gyms have their very strict, you know, like you're with one gym and that's it. But they were cool to me because I was making, you know, it was the only way I could make a living. And yeah, so eventually through all that, obviously the pandemic and all that type of shit was happening. And that's when I kind of transitioned to Powerhouse full time. I was training under Eddie and Brooke initially, and Jack and James Heelan that was there at the time. I was there strictly just training because I was still actively fighting, and like, you know, that's when I started with the Full Metal Dojo fights. And yeah, so must have been the end of 2019 before the pandemic started is when all that type of stuff was happening. And yeah, so then I was with Powerhouse for 2 years. I went back home during COVID for a little bit, just because it was like one of those unfortunate things. You know what it was like? There was army on the streets and things like that. You couldn't, while it was awesome and, you know, like it was really nice to be in a secluded beach and doing whatever you wanted to do. Like I used to tell people it was really strange if you didn't know the person that was walking down the beach during COVID. Like, where does this new person come from? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I went home for that, and then end of 2021, I came back to Thailand, and that's when I was like full time. I can never live in Australia again, and yeah, moved up, packed up, moved to Phuket full time, and then that's when I was full time one of the head trainers at Powerhouse.
Yeah, I saw you went home a bit, kind of to connect back with your family. I saw I was kind of following you on Instagram from there. Well, what is it for most people living here? That's one of the questions I think people get asked frequently, like that you disconnect from the family and time just flies by here.
In 2020, the doctor said to her, 2021, like the doctor said this she had like lymph node cancer, breast cancer. She had like 4 different types of cancer, and the doctor's like, listen, your mum's got about 6 months left to live. I was over here. I couldn't get back to Australia as well, which was the most frustrating thing. They wouldn't let me come back. They were like, oh, other people need to get back before you and all this shit. And like the whole COVID thing was just fucking busting my balls anyway. And I think 9 months into like my attempts at getting back, I finally got to go home on a repatriation flight, which was like just another bullshit thing. There was like 30 people on the whole plane because they were scared that COVID could spread throughout the plane. And I was just like, we're all fucking sitting in this one big thing. Like if one person gets it, we're all getting it. You know, what's the difference? So yeah, I went back home to spend time with my mum and just, you know, like do whatever I had to do in that aspect. And that was really shit because we had to quarantine in a hotel, and like police in Victoria Victoria is like one of the most overgoverned states in the whole of Australia. Like it's just crazy, mate. They call it Little China sometimes because of the impact that But I got an official letter from Victoria Police saying that everyone got the same letter that you're not allowed to leave your place of residence or 5 kilometers out of there. But then I also got a letter saying, hey, we know your mum's sick, but you're not allowed to go visit her. So I was just like, yeah, man, fucking stick that up your ass. Like that's the only reason I've come back to Australia, you know? So I left the hotel quarantine and went straight over, with like 45 minutes away to my sister's house. And like, God bless my family, they didn't give a fuck. Like, if the police come here to say, like, what are you doing visiting your chronically mum? Like, you know, It is what it is. But yeah, that was like a kind of weird thing because we were over here sitting on the fucking beach having a great time. Like, obviously it was very, you know, underpopulated and a lot of businesses were going down, but we're all out just doing normal things, hitting pads on the beach, having a great time. Then I got back into Australia and they're like, yeah, mate, leave your house, see what happens. Like, you'll be arrested. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, went back, spent time with mum and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, like they gave everyone the letters at the hotel about you will be arrested. It just said like, you will be arrested if you leave your house and all this stuff. And like, so I was just like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to live in this kind of tyranny. And so I made my peace. Me and my mum talked. My mum's like, I don't want you here, but she's like, I want you to be out doing what you're supposed to be doing in the world, you know? And like, I was making really good waves at the time coaching. So, you know, I spent like 9 months nearly with her, just flat out. And she's like, all right, enough's enough. I need you to leave. I don't want you just sitting here watching me die. So then got to the stage where I rang Jack Lowe. I said, listen, man, like I've made the decision. Me and my mum spoke, you know, like it's time for me to kind of get back on the track. So yeah, jumped on the phone. Jack's like, mate, you know, I've been waiting for you to come out. So whenever you're ready, do that. And then, yeah, so the end of 2021, September, came back out. We had a fucking great time, man, Jack and I, you know, like.
This is Jack from Powerhouse?
Yeah, Jack from Powerhouse. And then, yeah, so we just kept going through from there. Obviously, the world started turning normal again. You know, there was tourists coming through the scheme at the time, the SHA Plus one. And, yeah, Powerhouse was pumping through. We were doing really, really well. And then December last year, there's like a whole situation which I'm not really sure it's my place to speak about. So
if you enjoyed this content, we're doing 5 clips like this a week. If you want to watch the full podcast, click here.